Okay, thank you. Call the meeting to order, 7:01. Roll call and seating of alternates. I'll start off. Charles Funk.
Valerie.
Angie DeSanto.
Angie.
Jesse Burnham.
Jesse, thank you.
Butch Simpson.
Butch, thank you.
You're welcome.
John Kopek.
John, thanks.
Paul.
And Garth, you're here, right?
Yes, still here.
Thank you. Let's seat. John, you're an alternate, right?
No, John.
John,
No.
no, John Kopek, you're a regular, right?
Correct.
So who are we missing? Let's
Judith
have,
Austin.
yeah, Judy Austin, and who else?
Is Esther there?
Esther's an alternate.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll have Paul sit for Judy. Otherwise, everybody else is here. Okay. Under communications, I guess the only communication I've had that I would, think is important is that I did speak to the auditor, and so I'll let you, hear briefly about that during the audit update. And then the only other communication I had was with the new superintendent, which was just a meet and greet and, get to know him. It had been my intention at our last meeting to have the board introduced to him. And there was a little bit of potential board business to interact with him at that time. That's been resolved. So, I decided to not add that to our agenda for tonight. So we'll save that for a time when we have business with the school. My interactions so far with the new superintendent have been phenomenal. He's very communicative and very engaging. I think that the Board of Ed has done a wonderful job selecting the superintendent. And, of course, we're in the honeymoon phase. So, but anyway, I just, so far I've been very encouraged. That's it for communications on my end. Are there any comments from the public? Good. Approved minutes. Next agenda item, approved minutes of regular meeting Thursday, June 24th, 2021. I need a motion from somebody to approve those minutes.
So moved, Angie DeSanto.
Angie, thank you.
I'll second Paul Varga.
Thanks, Paul. Any corrections? There were none that I found reading through it, even my second time.
One thing I might say is I've been told that I'm not putting the word minutes, and I will do that.
Okay, very good. Yeah, it's good. We have all kinds of people out there really scrutinizing our minutes. That's fantastic. Thanks, Valerie. Any other corrections? All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm just making sure who was there.
This is John. I wasn't there. I abstained.
Okay. Anybody object? And anybody abstain? John abstains. Thank you. Motion passes. New business, selectmen's update. Catherine, you're up, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Okay, I've got a number of things to tell you about. First of all, the storms. As you can see, as you have probably seen, our public works crew has been out there trying to repair our roads. Our road infrastructure was damaged quite a bit by the series of storms that we had in July, particularly bad one, and then we had yet another one recently. So they have been working on getting the roads fixed as much as they could. They can't get them pretty yet, but they continue to work on it. We did have a meeting on, the Board of Selectmen has an emergency meeting on July 20th. And we approved the purchase of a $10,600 cross conveyor spreader. I'm trying to think of how to describe it to you. Just give me a second. Knowing you want to keep this meeting tight. The what it does is it puts. Okay, we were looking at public safety. We had done an assessment back at that point in time, thinking it would take 4 to 6 weeks to repair the damage. Of course, we had more storms after that. So our concern was for public safety until the road repairs can be completed. What we purchased was a cross conveyor spreader to significantly reduce the manual effort and time needed to distribute road materials while filling trenches, shouldering, road sanding, and asphalt patching. What used to take 3 guys to do and a lot longer is taking 2 guys to do and a lot faster. So with that machine. So you can anticipate, I'm giving you a heads up now, that might cause our public works budget to go over. And I know it's early in the year, but we had a series of storms in July and August. We'll be watching to see what we have for snowstorms, et cetera, as the year goes on. But I wanted to let you know that we made that purchase.
Catherine, can I interrupt 1 second?
Sure.
Just so the board knows, that piece of equipment, what it does is it discharges material out of the side of the vehicle so that they don't have to. It used to be very labor intensive where they were dumping stuff out of the back of a truck and then having to use a back hoe or another piece of equipment to move the soil and then get it into the trench. So this actually discharges essentially directly into the trench. So it's a huge.
The other thing that they had to do was with the old method was they had to sweep the road afterwards, and they don't have to do that with this.
Right.
So it was a good investment, and it's working very well. Okay. Okay, we got, I think that I know I shared it with you, Chuck. I don't know if it got out to all of your board members, but Robert Hurd came back with his estimate for doing the documenting up a 3-phase plan for the Tremco house. And we had in our capital improvement budget, we had 5,000 allocated last year, and in last year's, and we carried it over. Let me explain the 5,000. 2,500 was to come from the Historical Society and 2,500 from the town. But the way it works is the Historical Society would be reimbursing us the 2,500. We would do the outlay of the 5,000. Unfortunately, when Mr. Hurd came back, his estimate was $6,000. And so we are looking to get some approval for using for $6,000 for that particular upfront work for the Tremco house.
Does anybody have any questions? And Catherine, are you looking for us to make a motion to approve that, or what's your thinking on that?
I'm thinking yes, but let me ask Cheryl. I'll put you on the spot. Sorry. The best method for this, because this was a capital project. Is this something where we would overrun it and then look to see if any of the other projects during the year did not have had excess left over, and that would make up that difference? Or do we move forward with move it forward with a motion to approve using $6,000 instead of 5?
I didn't hear the beginning because my internet dropped out, of course. But if I understand your question, it would be acceptable to overrun it and then at the end of the year, make that adjustment with any other possible adjustments.
All right, thank you very much. So
Hey.
Chuck, one of the
Yeah.
other thoughts too was that originally we were very clear with Mr. Hurd that we only had $5,000 to work with.
Yeah.
And so it was a surprise when I got the estimate was 6,000.
Yeah.
There was no explanation beyond receiving the estimate.
Paul,
So-
do you have a question?
Yeah, could I ask, I actually have two. Catherine, with that
Yes.
estimate for 6,000, what does it, that's just to develop the plan, is that correct?
It's to develop the plan with estimates for each phase. Would be a
Okay.
3-phased plan.
Okay, and then the second question is, with that additional $1,000, originally, we had I guess, an agreement with the Historical Society.
Yes.
Has anybody entertained the idea with them about splitting the additional 1,000, so it would be 3 and 3?
No, I was kind of hoping that someone from the Historical Society would be on tonight, but they may not have realized that this was going to be
It's coming
discussed.
up.
When your meeting was canceled before, I think they had intended to be there, and so they're not here tonight.
I sent Joan Boley a link to this
Ah.
meeting, so she should have gotten it, and I'm a little surprised she's not here. But what I'm wondering, Catherine, to Paul's point, which I think is certainly shared by me, maybe what we could do is reach out to Joan and sort of ask if the Historical Society would be willing to continue to split the expense of this and see how they react.
Okay. Do you
and if
want me to do that reach out?
if you wouldn't mind, that would be helpful, and just sort of see how they react. And I think let's see how they react. I think the spirit of that initial agreement was that the Historical Society was willing to split the upfront costs of this design. So let's see if they're still willing to entertain that.
All right, I'll do that. Okay, moving forward, the American Rescue Funds. You'll find when you get your Ashford Citizen for the month of September, the front cover will describe the 4 categories of where we can use funding from the American Rescue Fund. And what we're asking the public to do is give us some feedback so that, we want their involvement and their ideas. So, but I will tell you where we have been apportioning some of the funds so far, and they're in a relatively small way. For the people who lost bear with me, our family services and youth services. I'm thinking family services. I know I'm using the wrong term. Melissa McDonough.
Yep.
She did not receive monies for this fiscal year, extra monies at all, really. She had a grant the year before. And so she has situations, and I'll give you one, where someone lost their job and fell behind in their rent. A single mother with a couple kids fell behind by a month in her rent and cannot find a way to make it up. She's working now, but so that's a person who has applied for funds, and that I believe that payment was like $1,500. So what we did, the Board of Selectmen said we would set aside $20,000 from the American Rescue Fund for just those types of things to be managed and distributed by Melissa through the town services. And she has the criteria that people have to meet in order to get that money. And this will be of great help. Also, it makes it so that she still has some regular money in her budget for other things. So
I think that's great. Yeah, thank you.
okay. Another one is, it's going to be somewhere, I believe, between $14,000 and $20,000 for NECOG to assist in our American Rescue Plan funding, American Rescue Plan reporting. I believe because we are I forget what it's called, a non-something town, we won't have to report until the end of the year. That's the new thing that I heard. Well, what NECOG is doing is they've enlisted Shipman and Goodman to help put together forms that we would be using. And also NECOG people who have been trained, and I know some of the training is $1,000 a session. And they've already gotten a couple of their people trained. Those people can review our submissions and make sure we've crossed all our I's and dotted all our T's and help us. And that $14,000 to $20,000 is the total over a period of 4 years. So it's not, you know, we don't have the exact number yet, because the way that NECOG is doing it is they're apportioning the cost based upon the number of towns within NECOG that will participate. So at this point in time, they have 10 of the 16 towns will be participating. So we feel that that's just a nice safety net for us. I know that, you know, there are other towns who are going out and hiring people just to administer these funds. And this is our way of at least making sure that we're doing this part correctly. And at this point in time, we don't feel that we need to have somebody coming in and, you know, actually going in and working with our systems on the funds. So Cheryl's department can handle that fine. So another one is we have about, I believe it was 15,000, somewhere around 15,000. And please forgive me for not having the exact number in front of me. We reached out to a firm to do a health assessment on our town buildings. So the approximately 15,000 to do that assessment is for the town office building, and it's the HVAC, the electrical, the, you know, whatever, mechanical. So it's a town office building, Knowlton, the senior center, and the senior housing. What we did was did that, and then the Board of Selectmen had approved that, but there was another suggestion made, and we completely agree with it. It was to also make sure the fire station is done. So
yeah.
we just got the estimate for the fire station, and that's $5,000, about just over $5,000, because it's a much more complex set of systems in that particular building. So the idea is to, let's make sure that the air is healthy. Let's go there, because that's COVID related. And let's also find out what's wrong with these buildings so that we can have basically a plan for each one. We may not be able to do everything over time, but at least we'll know what's wrong, and we can start to do things in a, what do I want to say? In a good managed manner.
Yeah.
Instead of whack-a-mole. Okay. I see you got the image. Okay, good. And then we had thought we had an estimate of somewhere between 1,800 and 2,500 for hybrid meetings, but I just got a new estimate. I'm not happy with this one because I don't think it's the right solution yet. And that's about 3,500. So we're working, I had asked Savage Systems, who handles our IT, and oh, help me, John, I just, Taiki Systems, or Taiki Incorporated, which handles our Zoom and go to meeting sessions to work together, because they literally have to work together to have a good solution for this, because Zoom is part of it too.
Excuse me, you've got Taiki, and what was the other company?
Savage, and Taiki is Tyche, and Savage Systems.
Okay.
So yeah, the initial estimate was not complete, and I didn't know that, so I had presented it to the Board of Selectmen, and I'll be talking with them some more about that now that I've found out more.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so we haven't, so those are the things we're actually spending money on. That's our initial intent. Again, we want the feedback from the public. We want to understand where they feel things should go. And one of the categories is broadband. And so we're also, I've been in meetings with other town leaders from other towns about where their priorities are. That's one of theirs as well. So we had, Christine and I had reached out to Spectrum because they deliver the broadband in our town. It just doesn't go everywhere it needs to go. And Frontier doesn't really offer true broadband, not at the level that's required. So what we're trying to do is get a map of all of the places in town that have Spectrum so that we can tell who doesn't. Otherwise, everything's anecdotal and we can't get a handle on how much is needed. So we're working on that right now. In addition, and these are just odd requests coming in that we haven't acted on at all. One is a request from Eastern Highlands, and that's for about $1,600, I think. And don't quote me, it might somewhere between 12 and 1,600. They are looking to recoup some of the extra money that they spent for clinics during the past year. And so they've apportioned it out, made requests to the different towns. I can tell you Mansfield has paid the lion's share. It was well over $20,000, I think. So they're looking for a relatively small amount from us. And my first reaction was, I did ask, is this a request or is this a bill? And they said it was a request. So I'm going to take that to the Board of Selectmen. And you'll be hearing more about that in all likelihood.
Now, Catherine, on
Yes.
that, the clinic you just said, is that?
Oh yeah, let me tell about the clinic.
Yeah, is that? I was just curious. Is that like vaccine clinics? Is that
Yes.
testing?
Bear with me. I'm sorry. I'm so enmeshed in it. I forgot to even make it clear. So Eastern Highlands is conducting clinics, and we've had one in town in Knowlton, aside from the ones that they did at the school. But they've started doing them now every 3 to 4 weeks. And the first one of these new ones was at Knowlton. And they are trying to incentivize people to get their COVID vaccines. So what Eastern Highlands said is they would put up they'd put up $5 per person for the first, bear with me, I think it's 20 people, something like that. Anyway, they wanted us to put up the other $5, and these would be for food discount tickets for the food truck. This parks itself outside of these clinics. And what happened was I'm working with Martha Sibley Jett, and I'm extremely happy that they are doing this and putting these clinics out there where people can get to them, making it much easier for us. She is trying to get the kids that are over 12 vaccinated before they go back to school. That was one of the key things. So we didn't have very many people come to this first clinic. It was 7. But I have to tell you, the people who were working the clinic, they were thrilled. They've been going everywhere to get as many people vaccinated as they can. And what happened that particular night is we had one of those big storms, complete with lightning and the whole bit. I lost power. I was over at the town offices. But they managed to get 7 people. And I talked with the people who were running the clinic, and they were all this super enthusiastic group of people that have been going to fairs, to outdoor concerts in towns, to farmers markets, and setting up to help people get their COVID vaccinations. So we have another clinic coming up this coming Thursday. And that would be the one that's 3 or 4 weeks after the last one. Well, Martha had requested, she said Eastern Highlands would only put up $100 towards discounts at the food truck, and asked if we could put up $400. So they'd have a total of $500. Well, we certainly didn't use up our money as part of this one. If I recall, or if it was only $35 because it was half of the 7 people. So what we have is we've got something set up. So we've got $400 that we can work with. It's not much. Personally, I don't like having to incentivize somebody to get a COVID vaccine, but whatever it takes. I think they had also gotten $20 Amazon tickets, Amazon cards, anything to get them there. So then this, so the money is to reimburse the, what do you call it? The food cart. The
Okay.
food's pretty good, I guess, too. So they're gonna be here on Thursday, next Thursday, right at Knowlton.
So I
Great.
know the vaccine is free and being paid for by our federal taxes, et cetera. But I don't think, unless Eastern Highlands is thinking that this money that made its way to Ashford is to help pay for the clinic, I
No,
don't think we
not.
should, I don't think we
It's
should
not.
be,
it's not to help pay for
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm
clinic.
saying.
okay, well, if that's the case, I don't think we should be using town money to,
$400. $400 is that what they were trying to do was incentivize people. That's what the point was.
okay,
It's $400 out of 1.2 million.
all right, well, I still
And
think that,
that's for clinics. And, some people may not agree with getting vaccinated. However, there are people who do need to get vaccinated. And
Well-
right now, our COVID rate, I can tell you that as of August 22nd, last Sunday, I haven't gotten my new report yet. Every week I get a report from Eastern Highlands. I also sit on the board of directors for Eastern Highlands. So I am in other meetings with them as well. So for the 3 weeks preceding August 22nd, in total, we went up 15 people and 1 more death. That took our total of deaths up to 5. The way that the variant is hitting us is the first week, 3 people were diagnosed. The next week, 7 were diagnosed. And then the week of the August 22nd, 5 were. I expect that we'll probably have more when I get the report this week. So, the $400, if it gets people, or whatever, gets them there to get their shot, fine. It was a small amount. The Board of Selectmen had no issue with it.
Jesse, what was your thinking? You finish your thought.
well, I just don't think that, the incentive is I think the town should do due diligence of advertising these clinics so that people know that it's there, put it in
We
the
do.
Citizen. So I've seen it on Facebook, et cetera, but I just personally don't think that, the food or the Amazon gift cards or anything like that is something that we should be paying for.
You need to understand something. They are advertising. They have been advertising. You'll see it in the Citizen.
Well, I
Okay,
know that,
for the next
I
one.
think we should continue to do that to let people know that the clinics are available, but I don't know. I just don't like the idea of
Incentivizing.
incentivizing with food and stuff like that.
Yeah, Jesse, I basically agree with you. I find
Me
it
too.
somewhat absurd that we do have to incentivize people, yet I agree that I think this is a call by Eastern Highlands saying, look, we're trying anything we can to get people, and
Right.
let's try this. So my feeling on this, even though quite honestly, I agree with you. I think it's absurd that we have to incentivize people to get a free shot, but
As do I.
but I also think if Eastern Highland, which has a lot more experience trying to get this done,
Right.
saying, look, hey, if you could help us a little bit here, maybe it'll make a difference. I guess my feeling is I want to be a bit of a team player with that particular organization. So even though I agree with you, I also think, I want those people to do the best work that they can. And if that's what they think they need to help, then I'm okay with that.
It's probably a really good return on investment.
But that's what I think too. Again, I'm not keen on the whole thing of paying somebody or whatever to get a shot. But we've got people here who don't have a lot of money, and incredibly enough, they used their little tickets, the ones that came, used them on that food truck. They gave them $10 of a discount, and some of them had their little families with them. So anyway, that's the $400 out of that 1.2 million. And we'll be looking for other things to apply the monies to. Right now, we're trying to make sure that we take care of some of the immediate needs that are not large ticket needs. For example, the hybrid meetings, that's an issue. We have boards that want to hold their hybrid meetings. Anybody who is, by the way, anybody who is coming into the town offices has to wear a mask. Okay, so that's, the town offices are open and everything, but they have to wear a mask.
Yep.
And we have not, the Board of Selectmen have not entertained doing a mask mandate for the town. However, I will tell you that I have been approached by twice, and so was Eastern Highlands, by a business owner in town who is asking for that because people are belligerent in his store. Or in his place, I should say, of business.
Yeah.
They're
Excuse
belligerent
me,
when he asks
you
them to
broke
put
up,
on a
you
mask.
broke up a little bit, but I don't know if it was just for me. Did you break up for other people? Like,
I heard,
No,
Okay, so Thor,
so it's just me? Okay.
so Thor, what did you want? Did you want me to repeat?
If you could, because
Yeah,
it must be
okay.
just my
So,
connection.
What I said, and I want to be really clear about this, the selectmen have not entertained doing a mask mandate for the town. A number of other towns around us have,
Mhm.
okay? And Mansfield is a perfect example. And I was over there today, and not only did I see people in the stores, you know, whatever, with masks on, but they were on the street that way. So that was kind of interesting, but it was, you know, the wearing of masks indoors, and a number of towns are mandating it. Some of the bigger cities definitely have. So we're not entertaining that motion at this time. We're monitoring the COVID rate closely to see if it's going to continue to go up. Our town is in red status. So don't be
But
amazed.
what'd you say about a business owner? Somebody, what I
Oh, so
missed
the
was,
business, so a business owner contacted Eastern Highlands, who then responded back to him and included me and said it was a municipal decision by a town leaders to do that because the business owner wanted a mask mandate. Is very concerned because that person also has the elderly coming in. And and then the person reached out to me yesterday by email. And I tried to go and see the person today. What I started to do was call around to see if there were any other businesses that were encountering belligerent people when they were told they had to wear a mask. And what I found was generally they are not requiring people to wear a mask. They're saying, if you've been vaccinated, you don't have to wear one. It's up, it's up to you. Well, it'll be interesting to see what the governor does when we go forward, because that may change depending on how bad the COVID rate gets. But for right now, I have at least one business that is experiencing a problem with belligerent customers when they're saying you need to wear a mask in here. So it's unfortunate. Nobody should be getting belligerent about this. If a business owner wants you to wear a mask, you should be wearing a mask, or don't take your business there.
so I think that's good information for all of us to have as citizens. And I think Catherine's, sort of summarized some of the financial information. But I want to move on to
Yes.
the next
Good.
topics to keep the meeting going. Catherine, do you have anything else for selectmen's updates, or you're done?
The only other thing I have is I'm pursuing the school speed signs.
Okay.
Flashing signs. Okay, I'm working, just starting to get the attention of DOT and working with some people about what some options are for that. And I'll give you an update on that the next time.
Okay, great. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. The next item is review and take action for fiscal year 2021 year-end adjustments. Just as a general, review, we do this every year when we get to the end. Typically, we do it much sooner than this, but with a new system that we're still trying to get adjusted to and so forth, it's taken us a little bit more time this year than it typically does. But these are year-end adjustments between the various departments where, somebody's a little over, somebody's a little under, and, we need to make those adjustments for the auditor. So again, we do this every year. And I think what I'd like to do is just briefly have Cheryl maybe just speak briefly to the general fund adjustments, which the adjustments happen to be about half of what they were last year. So that's kind of cool in terms of volume. But anyway, I don't know. We sent Cheryl was fantastic. She was a huge help to me this week, and she sent all of you out a digital copy of this of the adjustments. And so on the last page is a summary of what the adjustments would be. And what we've done in past years is we've made a motion to make these adjustments in general. And then what we do is we tie this particular form that she's sent out to you to our minutes so that it's all right there, for anybody to see in the public. So Cheryl, do you want to just speak briefly to what the adjustments are on the last page, and then we'll ask if any board members have any questions.
Sure. So on the last page, the proposed adjustments for fiscal year end 21 adopted budget, that's an explanation of the rest of the document. So you see the column that says decreased budget. Those are line items that had monies left over in them. The part-time salaries for the Board of Selectmen wasn't used. Custodial wasn't used. Salt and ice control was underused. Building office supplies and the contingency fund were all funds that were left over at the end of the fiscal year. Other places where we needed money, it will be put into it will increase their budget, so it will change the net budget, and then they will not be over budget. So Board of Selectmen legal fees, we had a lot of extra costs with the special elections and the resignation of the first selectman midterm, and some of the Cadle Rock fees went into there. Town office building electricity for the interior, that went over. Some of it can be attributed to the COVID because of additional use of the heating system and the ventilation system rather. So we had to open things up to keep the air moving so that any possible virus particles would be sent out. Town office repairs, town office building repairs were more than anticipated. The assessor had a little overage, and so on. Register of voters, of course, had the same issue as the legal fees with the additional special election. And let's see, of course, the transfer station, that has been going up since the COVID thing began. It's increased usage and increased cost per ton. So that's a double whammy on that one. Cemetery had some additional repairs to cemetery stones that were broken. Some of the headstones were broken off, and other things that they needed to have done. It was more than he anticipated, and it came in right at the end of the year when they could finally get to it. So it threw him over a little. Planning and zoning professional and technical services went over because we failed to include the zoning share of the copy machine, which is minimal, $780. Wetlands, we used the wetlands officers services more than anticipated. And the general liability insurance is a little over because of the cyber insurance coverage. We had not quite enough in there to cover that.
Very good. That's excellent. Thank you, Cheryl. So the quote budget increase to the various budgets is about 57,542. And the decrease in the various budgets, of course, align with that at 57,542. So I don't know if anybody has any specific questions. If you do, now would be a good time to ask. We have Cheryl and Catherine here, but if not, then I need a motion that would read, and Cheryl, correct me if I'm wrong, but we would have a motion to approve the fiscal year end of June 30th, 2021 budget adjustments requiring $57,542 to be moved to make the needed adjustments.
Well, it's a net zero impact, so you don't.
So we don't need to put the dollars in, we just make the adjustments, make a
Correct.
motion to make
It's
the
net-
adjustments.
It's net zero, so yes,
Okay.
please.
All right. Anybody have any questions?
Yes, Chuck, Jesse Burnham here. I just got one question. Catherine spoke about the new purchase for the Department of Public Works. Does that fall under this budget, or is that this present budget, 21 through 22?
Catherine, can you turn your speaker on?
Yeah, thank you. Nice way to put it. No, you're looking at last year's fiscal year. The thing we purchased this year is in the 2021-22 budget.
Okay, great. I missed the date
Yeah.
when you were talking about it.
Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you for the clarification. Good question, Jesse. Any other questions? And if not, I need somebody to make a motion to approve the fiscal year end of June 30th, 2021 budget adjustments.
John Kopeck, so moved.
Thanks, John.
Jesse Burnham, I'll second it.
Thank you, Jesse. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain?
Butch,
Thanks, Butch. Motion passes. The second part of this is every year, again, same time, we do adjustments to our capital projects. So again, I want to put Cheryl slightly on the spot to just do a quick explanation, but this is in general where we, close out projects that we feel are done. We move monies, as needed, or return it to CNR if that's appropriate, and so forth. So again, Cheryl, if you don't mind, if you could just give us a brief overview of what you're seeing here.
Sure. The Brownfields project has been a multi-year project, and Christine has completed it. We're going to close the capital projects portion of it and return $5,294.42 to CNR. The actual project had a higher cost, but some of the money came out of the general fund budget prior to us receiving the funds, and it was in a previous fiscal year before we started the project. So the project costs slightly more, a couple $1,000, maybe more than that. And that's the refund that or the reimbursement we will receive from the grant. But this is what we had left in CNR. The Knowlton Hall generator, when all was said and done, including the initial fill of propane where they tested and then allowed it to run, we ran over a little bit. So we'd like to transfer $475.88 into that line. Pompey Hollow infrastructure in October, I believe, or August maybe, August 13th. The first selectman came to the Board of Finance and requested $125,000 for that project because they needed to have the funds in place. It was a reimbursement project, and that was approved. And then it was put into the budget requests from capital projects for this fiscal year. So in the current fiscal year, when we will actually run the project, we have $125,000 allotted for that. We need $5,000 more. We need actually $130,000 because we need to have the town have a $5,000 stake in it. So I'm proposing that we carry over $5,000 into fiscal year 22, and we return $120,000 into CNR. The senior housing lighting project was approved on June 24th for $18,000. That project hasn't begun, so we're proposing to carry over the whole $18,000 into fiscal year 22. Capital budget revaluation, we budget $15,000. We expended $13,000, so we have $1,172 left. We'd like to carry that over into fiscal year end 22 because the assessor has changed reval companies and there will be an increased cost, and we can use this toward it.
Yep.
Same with the assessor's software conversion. It's completed, but there's $10,000 left, and we would like to carry that also into fiscal year end 22 to cover additional revaluation costs. The fire truck has not been received yet, so we'd like to carry $74,250 over into fiscal year end 22. The playscape was budgeted for $30,000. There's $88.12 that we'd like to move move back into CNR and use $475.88 of that to offset the Knowlton Hall generator overage. Historical property repairs, Catherine just spoke of that project. It hasn't been approved yet, so we'd like to carry over that $5,000 into the next fiscal year. The capital projects, the finance software project has been completed and all of the monies were expended. And the school bus had $706 left after all of their expenses. And we'd like to close that and return those funds to CNR. So we would be closing and returning to CNR $126,088.54. And we would carry over into fiscal year end 22, $117,466.09.
That was awesome, Cheryl. Thank you.
You're
And you
welcome.
almost did it in one breath.
Nice job. Nice
Thank
job.
you.
That was a great explanation. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? If not, I need somebody to make a motion to approve the fiscal year end June 30th, 2021 budget adjustments for the capital improvement budget.
So moved, Angie DeSanto.
Thank you, Angie.
Jesse Burnham, second.
Thanks, Jesse. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain?
Butch,
Thanks, Butch. Thank you very much, everyone. That's fantastic. The next new business is 6C, which is fiscal year 2021 audit update. Jesse, do you have any thoughts on where we're at with the audit at this point?
We're referring to
Oh, I'm sorry. My fault, Jesse. Holy. You're next. Hold on.
Are you sweating, Jesse?
I was like, boy, am I missing out on something?
Yeah, no. My brain.
I know the auditors called me this year to ask for my thoughts, but I didn't really have an update.
Yeah, but very good. My fault. Audit update. I did speak to King and King, and from their perspective, they're still feeling it's fairly early on, but they're having a very good relationship with both the town, Cheryl, and also Dina and the new superintendent. From their perspective so far, everybody's working hard and supplying them as best they can with the information they need. So
Somebody's happy.
Cheryl, when you have a moment, if you'd like to speak on the audit from your perspective.
I'm in the doghouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The, boy, now I'm totally out of my zone. Sorry. The audit is going pretty much as expected. It's, you know, a little behind because there are new players and new equipment, and there's a learning curve at the Board of Education. But everybody's really cooperative and trying to work together, and I think it's going very well. I think we're gonna get things in, maybe not exactly as planned, but not anything like we'd had in the past.
Good, thank you. So basically, I just wanted you guys to have an update that, you know, as far as we can tell, and, you know, any source that we can communicate with, things seem to be moving along in a healthy direction on our audit. The next item is the annual report update, which Jesse will help me with.
All right, so I just got another report in from Catherine yesterday, so we have the Selectmen's report finished.
Good.
So it leaves just the Fire Marshal, Commission on Aging, which I believe got mixed up because the municipal agent, I believe, would be the one responsible for that report. They submitted a municipal agent's report, but not the actual Commission on Aging. So
So do you need another follow-up on that?
I sent her an email, but if you could as well, that would be great.
Okay,
And Registrar of Voters, I've written to them a few times,
I can follow up on that one too.
but I wonder if it's because they're just not accessing that particular email that often. I don't know.
I'll follow up.
And then of course, the dedication, and I followed up on that as well, but you want to maybe just have a conversation with Christine as well, it'd be great.
Jesse, have you spoken?
Is she doing, I'm sorry, is she writing the dedication? Is that what you have?
I had asked her to quite a while ago.
I'll ask
Um,
her again.
Who is that?
Isn't it kind of a surprise when you do it?
Yeah, so Valerie, we're not going to say who the report's going to be dedicated to, but we've asked Christine Abakoff, who's very familiar with this individual, to help facilitate the dedication.
All right, so I'll follow up on the Registrar of Voters report, the Commission on Aging report, and then the dedication that Christine's writing.
Yep, that would be great. And then the last question I would have, Jesse, I don't know if you were able to track down any information from anyone as far as a photograph to go with that dedication.
I followed up in my request to Christine about asking if she could talk to someone else, and I don't know if Cheryl checked your email since I wrote it, but I also included her to maybe look through her photos as well.
Okay, so Cheryl, if you have, I know that Michael Gardner has done a lot of stuff with photography in the past. What I was thinking is I'm wondering if either you or Christine could reach out to Michael and see if he'd be willing to, if he either has something or would be willing to facilitate that.
Absolutely. I did see your email, Jesse, but not until about 5:30. So I'll definitely look around for that.
All right, thanks.
I'm sure there are some. I've seen them.
Yeah, we'd like it to be a really good one. This one's important. I
Yeah.
mean, they're all important, but this one's important. So, all right, Jesse, thank you very much. I know this has been a pain, but you've been a real help as far as, you know, nagging the appropriate people. in a gentle, good way. So I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Second opportunity for public comments. Agenda item for September 9th. I'll come up with something when we get there. Remarks for the good of the board.
I'd like to say something.
Go ahead, Angie.
Yeah, I really appreciate everybody's help on all those things, and you're talking to people, Chuck and Jesse doing the getting all the material. So thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Angie. So the last agenda item, I usually try to get John to help me with.
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks, John.
Second,
And that's Angie's the second. Thank you. All in favor?
aye.
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 Anybody opposed?
No.
We're not.
Anybody abstain? Motion passes.
What